So, welcome to my podcast. Listen, this was not supposed to start off like this. I was gonna invite some buddies over. We were gonna do this in a group, and that would be a much easier setting for me as a first timer. But I had a lot on my mind. I thought I had a lot to say, a lot of time in my hands, and so I decided to just run it solo. Just start it off, see how it goes. So bear with me here. I'll do my best. And first of all, let's address the big elephant in the room, which is what prevented me from running this in the group in the first place. The coronavirus, the quarantine, right? I'm sure you have your opinions. I'm sure you've done your research, or at least I hope you've done so. But everyone has a different opinion on this, and the first thing that came up to my head the first time I heard of it was coming from a social sciences background, more specifically human geo, even more specifically, you can talk about epidemiology. Now, what does that all mean? In epidemiology, there is this chart made in the 1970s that pretty much tried to explain the main causes of human death along different time periods. And there's three main phases to it. Phase one was from prehistoric times until right before the Industrial Revolution. Now, think about the caveman and, Middle Ages, Roman Empire, whatever time period until the Industrial Revolution. Think of their access to medicine, hygiene, access to food is really important. Before the Industrial Revolution, we were limited, right? A lot of people died of malnourishment. Famine was a big thing through most of our history. Infectious diseases, think of the plague, think of the flu, Poor hygiene, I'm sure, did not contribute to all this. That's all stage one in this model. The stage is called pestilence and famine, right? You can probably tell why by now. Moving on, the Industrial Revolution gave us a more stable access to food, a little bit improved medical care, right? A little bit more improvement in hygiene. And there was a diminishment in the amount of people that died from these infectious diseases, creating the age of receding pandemics, which only set us up for stage 3, which is of degenerative diseases. What is that? With all these advancements that came with the Industrial Revolution, we're living longer, and with living longer, there's a bigger possibility of developing other types of diseases that we didn't have the chance to develop before due to our age limitation. So I'm talking about here is death from strokes, cancer, diabetes, stuff that comes from inside of you, right? And that became the main cause of death in stage 3. And that's where most of our developed countries in the world are today, right? Now, ever since this was created, there has been a hypothesis, right, for stage 4. Now, what does that entail? Stage 4 would be the reemergence of, those infectious diseases that killed us in the first place, all the way back in stage 1. How does that happen, right? Mutations, for starters, mutation of those diseases have been created, and they have been mutating and adapting to our ways to fight them. So we are able to contract them again, or their mutated version. And the biggest and, where our actual corona came from, which is infection from animals, or at least that's where we think corona came from. There's the whole, lab speculation and, skeptics of China and stuff like that. It's more of a conspiracy theory. I don't know. You're entitled to believe whatever you want. I believe the bat story much more because it makes sense. It fits perfectly into this model, and it was already predicted before, according to this. So that's where I stand at. That's where I think our explanation to this can come from. And that's the first thing that came into my head, honestly, when I saw it on the news a couple months ago in China. I'm like, man, that fits perfectly into the model that I studied a couple of years ago. It was in the geography class, in school even. And I was like, man, this explains it, right? So, what does this all mean, though? Why are we so worried about it? Should we be freaking out like we all are right now? A lot of people have different opinions on this, and some people don't care at all. Some people are freaked out, right? There's a big division here. And if there was a study in Japan from a ship, let me get the name of the ship here. The ship was called Princess Cruise Ship. I think it was trying to dock in Japan. Diamond Princess Cruise Ship. It was trying to dock in Japan, and the government did a study on the ship. This was not that long ago, even. All of the people that had contracted corona inside that ship, 17% of the people were asymptomatic. Now, what does this all mean? Death rate, right? If you look at the death rate of the coronavirus, yeah, it's kind of scary compared to, less deadly diseases. I believe it was 3.5, and the flu was like 0.9 or 0.6, something like that. Not to get too specific here, I'm sure if you look at the death rate numbers, yeah, it can sound pretty scary. How's the death rate calculated though? It's the number of people that died over the number of people that were infected. Now let's take that denominator here and analyze it. So 17% of the people in that ship were asymptomatic. The people that are asymptomatic with the coronavirus in the real world, not on the ship, they're not going to the hospital to get tested. Why would they? They don't feel anything. They're fine, right? Let's put that in a larger scale. That denominator, I believe, is much bigger than what we think is, making the death rate a lesser number than what we think is. Now, that's what I interpreted from this one study, which, let's be real, is not a random sample. But I think it does say something. And I think it can... listen, numbers don't lie, right? That's why I always advocate more for listening to numbers rather than listening to media. Media focus a lot on your emotional responses rather than your logical ones. And decisions like these and treating these events has to be done more with rationality and logic rather than externalizing your emotions. And again, this is not to say the quarantine isn't important. Do I believe we need to be in quarantine? Yeah, I do. Because our healthcare system has a capacity, and we need to stay under such capacity so that we have the ability to treat everyone. If we have a sudden rush of people with the same disease going to the hospital, not only are they going to be transmitted from each other to people that don't have it, but our hospitals can't take it, man. We're not going to be able to handle the same disease around for so many people at the same time, which is what was happening in Italy for a while. Doctors were having to decide who dies and who lives because there's just not enough equipment to, for everyone that was attending at the same time. That's why it's important to have the quarantine to flatten the curve, so the curve can stay under what our hospital's carrying capacity. So, chances are, just to summarize this whole corona thing and get into what really matters here. Should you be worried about it? If you get it, if you're healthy and young, if you're not in the risk group, as they say, I wouldn't worry too much about it. You might feel, bad. You might have some symptoms, even strong ones. But the death rate among those non-risky people is very low. So I wouldn't worry for your life. Do I believe you should be quarantining? Yeah, I do. For the sake of others, for the sake of social stability, right? Harmony, and for your society, for your community, man. It's the right thing to do, right? So, summarize this, and with this corona discussion, and go into, I'm guessing you came here from my fitness profile, which is probably where I'm promoting this. Yeah. So let's get into what really matters, which is, fitness. Let me just get a sip of water here. Bear with me. All right. So I'm sure this has impacted everyone, right? We're out of the gym. We're not We don't have access to the machines we did, the weights we did, which is a very big important part, which is exactly how I'm going to start this off. At the gym, you have access to all three pillars of your training, and you can variate them as you like, these being your intensity, your volume, and your frequency. Let's get into each of them. Let's get into frequency first. Frequency is how many times you hit that muscle group in a given week. Do you have access to the same amount of frequency outside of the gym? Yeah, you do. You have a lot of time, actually, to hit that muscle group as many times as you want throughout the week. So, if anything, that helped you. Let's talk about volume. Volume is your sets times your reps. Do you have access to unlimited sets and reps outside of the gym of whatever exercise you choose to do? Yeah, you do. You still can, perform a 3x8. You can do a 3x12. You can do a 3x20. You can do a 4x20. You can do whatever you want. Let's get into intensity. Now, this is where the issue starts. Do you have access to big weights? Do you have access to weights that would make you fail at 5, 6, even lesser reps? If you don't have a home gym, no, you don't, right? Weight is one of the biggest controllers of intensity there is. And without access to it, your intensity may be compromised during these non-gym times because of the quarantine. So I see two solutions to this. Number one being either you artificially try to increase intensity at your home workouts. So adding resistance where there isn't. So in bodyweight exercises, add a band, right? Do your best to add weight to backpacks. I've seen people do some crazy shit, man. Instagram's full of those. I'm sure you've seen them too, right? People went a little bit insane, which is fine. I thought it was funny. Some of them were really funny. You see Chris Bumstead doing tricep extensions with his couch. It's crazy stuff. And honestly, I liked it. It was funny. It forced people to be more creative. And so your first route is to do that. Increase intensity artificially. And don't mess with your frequency. Don't mess with your volume, right? Keep those givens. Maybe increase both a little bit. But keep everything, kind of standard. Kind of what you were doing at the gym. With your regular training splits. Or you can do what I've been doing. That's what I did personally for myself. That was solution number 2 that I found. Since your one variable is compromised, you maximize the other 2. So I've been hitting full body every time I work out during the week. This has been varying between 4 or 5 times a week, sometimes 6. Always full body. Giving that same muscle group stimulus every time I work out. And with enough volume to try to maintain it, even possibly make some gains, man. I'm sure you guys, most of you can make some gains during this quarantine. And you just got to be smart about it, right? So in terms of training, full body every day seems, it worked for me, right? Because I'm not really into that whole HIIT style of training. That's not only training more of your endurance and your cardio, right? That's also, it makes you waste a lot of calories, which may seem as good. It may seem like a good thing at first, but in a time where you're already more prone to being catabolic rather than anabolic, I don't believe being in a calorie deficit is the right thing to do at this time period. You are going to end up losing muscle with it, especially if you're a highly trained individual, if you train for a couple of years now. And you're not in that still newbie phase where you make gains by lifting feathers, right? You should be either in a maintenance or surplus. Now, we'll get into nutrition later. I just make sure you guys understand how this training should be going. Remember, your intensity is sacrificed. So, you got to compensate for it. Either you fix it or you find other ways of fixing it. That's where I leave you guys out with training. Let's go into nutrition here. Okay, so I often see everyone's either in a bulking state or in a cutting state. Why? Why are you in the gym? You're in the gym to change, right? You're trying to change something. You're trying to change your body. What is the whole premise of eating a maintenance? You stay the same body weight. It's literally the opposite of what you're trying to do. The importance of eating a maintenance is bigger than you think. That's my take on it. Let me explain how this goes. Let's take an individual that's 100 pounds, has 10 pounds of fat on him, 10% body fat, right? Get that individual, 3 years down the line, 4 years down the line, whatever. He put on a bunch of muscle, bunch of lean mass, right? He grew, got taller, whatever. He's now 200 pounds. Still with that same 10 pounds of body fat. That 10 pounds of body fat is no longer 10%. That 10 pounds is now 5%. He just lost 5% body fat by literally just adding on muscle. Eating at maintenance will keep you at that same weight while you make the gains that you need to make, making your body fat go down and the quantity of muscles that you have, lean body mass that you have in your body, your raw number up, making your body fat percentage lower, which is what really, really matters, right? That's the body recon. And that's what I was running up until the quarantine started. And that's what I'm still running. I'm running maintenance. A key issue here, a key characteristic of this maintenance eating is the high protein, right? So besides training, the other driver of your recomp is going to be your high protein. Why? Thermic effect of food, mainly. If you get the same diet, say 2,000 calorie diet, 2,000 calories a day, right? One of them has, let's say, 180 grams of protein. The other has 220. Your net calories in the diet that has 220 grams of protein is going to be lower. Thermic effect of food makes it so every calorie of fat and carbs that you eat, 10% of it just goes just to digest it. And for protein, I believe it's 30%. Don't quote me on those numbers. I'm just sure that protein is 30%. What that means is you can essentially eat at a maintenance and be in a deficit in terms of net calorie intake, because you're burning more calories to burn off that to just digest that extra protein rather than digest those extra carbohydrates. That's how I ran my body recomp. That's how I'm still running it to this day. Now, yes, I have lost a little bit of weight, probably from not lifting heavy weights, not giving that stimulus that I used to give every week in, week out in the gym from those heavier weights. Higher intensity, lower volume training, right? I went from around the 180, now I'm at 186, 187-ish. I'm still around 10, 11% body fat. I'm happy with my body fat so far. But I did lose a little bit of muscle, natural, right? It's okay. It happens. That's what I think you should be doing. Either you eating at a maintenance or as light surplus, and for the love of God, get that protein in, right? Not only to drive your recomp, but also to prevent you from losing even more muscle in times like these. The more protein you intake, the less muscle you're going to lose. Keep your protein high. Keep your calories high enough, right? This is not a time for cutting. You're not training at optimal levels right now. Progress, sometimes two steps back, for one step forward, right? This is not the time to get greedy. It's time to analyze this quantitatively and be patient, man. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint, right? This is a behavior that I see a lot in beginners and people newer to the sport. They want everything right now, which is fine, man. Honestly, I know exactly what you're going through. I've been there, right? I'm young. I'm only 18. I've been training for 4 years. I've only known what I've been doing, like strictly and training correctly, for around 2 years. I've been there, right? I see old videos of myself. I look at that kid. I'm like, man, I was hungry for gains when I was younger, and I would have done anything above and beyond to, look leaner. We get bigger, both together, which is possible, right? You just need patience. It's not gonna happen quick. It's a long-term process. It's the biggest variable here is consistency, even in times like these. It's working with your nutrition, your training, and your sleep, stress management, right? Which is an area that I personally lack a lot on, has been my sleep lately. Not lately, but ever since I was born, actually. I've been, that's been one key area that for me that has never really got it right? Sleep for me has always been hard. Consistency is number one. Yeah. So keep that in mind, even through these tough times. Train, man. Train at home, train in your backyard, balcony, under your building, whatever. Fuck it. Find this place. Get some bands. Fuck it. Get some rocks, whatever weight you can use. Body weight exercises. I'm not going to prescribe training here. I'm sure you've seen those enough on Instagram, YouTube, whatever you get your fitness information from. Make sure you run them. Make sure you stick to the plan. And I'm sure you'll be fine, and hopefully we'll all be back in the gym soon enough. Meanwhile, right, that's another topic I want to touch upon right here at the 20-minute mark. Not much to say here, more kind of wrap it up with this last topic right here. This is valuable time, man. As I was saying earlier, talking to one of my buddies here, you wouldn't go up to a stranger in the street and give him randomly $10. So why would you go up to people that won't really matter to you and give them 10 minutes of your time? Time is money, right? Time is finite. Time is a resource that's not going to be here forever for you. Every second you spend here is 1 second less spent on Earth. Every one more second is one less second for you. Allocation of your resource, of this specific resource, even more than any other resource, is crucial for your success. And be smart about it, right? So think about it now. You have so much time in your hands. You don't have school. You don't have a gym. You don't have parties. You don't have social gatherings, hopefully, right? Hopefully you're doing your social distancing. Everything's stopped. The world is stopped. What does that mean, man? That means you have time to go there, not lose anything else in the process. Go out there and learn as much as you can about anything. Go on a self-discovery journey. Learn a new language. Learn how to handle your money. Learn personal finance, right? Learn economics. Fuck it. Learn stuff that you're into. Learn about films. Watch films that you've been putting off. Read books that you've been putting off. Listen to podcasts of this random one kid that just decided to start a podcast out of nowhere. Like, listen to them, right? Do stuff that you've been putting off. Learn. Take this time to learn. Now that you're not losing anything in the exterior, now that you're not busy doing things on the exterior, look into the interior, analyze yourself, reflect on yourself, see, man, I should be learning this, I should be learning that. Consume as much as you can and store it. So then you can apply it whenever this is over. If you can start now, do it now. Do your thing. Focus on your grind. This is the time to do it. That's what I'm saying. It takes focus. And it's something that personally I've been trying to develop as well. I speak like I'm perfect in this. I'm really not. I'm really not. I spend a lot of my time just laying in my bed doing nothing. Right? It's not something I'm proud of, and it is something that I've identified, and it is something I'm trying to fix. As I'm sure everyone is. Everyone's in a progression of their own. But for example, during this whole time, I've learned that I'm switching majors at school, right? I've learned that I've got into stoicism. I learned first of all what stoicism is. I had no idea. And I've been trying to, read and watch some videos on it, learn as much as I can. Every day that comes. I've made plans for traveling, right? Go on a book, go on a map, look at stuff, make dreams, man. Think of your dreams. Think of, man, I want to visit this one place whenever the quarantine's over, and then go there and actually do it, right? Think of research stuff that you wouldn't normally. You're having lunch, a random question pops up to your head. Search it up. Know the answer. right? That way, when the topic comes up, you have a conversation that you didn't have before. Makes you build that networking, makes you build those connections that may last a lifetime, may bring you tons of benefits that you wouldn't know hadn't you searched that one word up. This is just a hypothetical situation here. I'm just giving you an example. It's a golden hour. Make sure you treat it like a golden hour. And that's where I'm going to leave you at tonight. It's already almost 5 a.m. here. I'm sure your schedules are as bad as mine. So I'm going to wrap it up. I'm sure if you came here, you probably came from a fitness Instagram, but I'm going to shout myself out either way. Nikao 2.0, NICKAO 2.0. Follow me. I'm mostly into fitness. I'll post mostly fitness stuff. If you don't come from a fitness background, you probably won't like my page, but oh well, whatever. I'm doing more of these podcasts, and if you like me, go ahead, follow me. Fuck it. All right. Peace, y'all. Have a good night, and hope you guys enjoy this.